Good morning, everyone. I thought I'd give a very brief little lecture for really our last full week before the first, really the only 2 days that we have for the final. A couple things that we need to address. One, the research paper, final draft for English 1010, 1101, and 1102. It's due tonight by 11:59. Now, I know 1010 and 1101, basically you have a 6 to 8 page research paper plus the works cited page where you need to use those six scholarly sources throughout those 6 to 8 pages. Um, you need to have that. So um, make sure that whatever sources, especially for 1010 and 1101, I will get to 1102. I'm going to sort of blend three classes here because you're sort of doing similar things as it relates to the research paper. Make sure whatever sources you have on your works cited page that you are quoting them, paraphrasing them, or summarizing them throughout the body of your research paper, right? MLA 9, in-text parenthetical citation, not APA 7, not Chicago style, Harvard style, Yale style, or whatever other funky style that you're finding. MLA 9, that's what we've been using since week one. By this time, you really should know how to format your paper because we talked about how to format an MLA 9 essay and research paper all along. Um, there's a couple things I want to talk about. One is safe assign, which is going to check for plagiarism. Another is a particular AI detector that I will be using. I will show you a AI paper from 1102 this semester that is already flagged up with AI, and that person has less than 24 hours to fix that, or they're going to get a zero on the paper. I'm not playing around with this stuff. If you're using any type of AI program to write your paper, you will get caught. The first offense is a zero. Same thing with plagiarism. If you plagiarize paper, buy a paper, copy and paste a paper, use an old paper, use somebody else's paper, if it's sort of saved on into SafeAssign, which a lot of these are, depending on whether you're going through this college or another college, because a lot of colleges use Turnitin and SafeAssign, and they archive these papers. You will get caught. So plagiarism, zero first offense. Using AI, zero first offense. If you're foolish enough to have do it again, on your final exam, especially for my 1010 or 1101 class, that you have a reflective essay. That's your essay 6. That's going to be your final exam. If you do it two times, plagiarize, or use AI, or if you already used AI or got caught plagiarizing earlier in the semester with another assignment, then that's your second strike. And it's two strikes, you're out, meaning no matter what your grade is, usually by the time you get two zeros, you're missing 40 points already. You're going to fail the class automatically. And then we're going to go before a group of people, probably in Waycross or Jessup, president, vice president, me, the dean, a couple other people, and we're gonna sort of, or they're gonna really gonna decide because I'm just gonna hand them the proof, where you cheated, where you plagiarized, where you used AI. I'm gonna have all that with me, documented, email, whatever the case may be, and they're gonna decide whether you are suspended for a semester, a year, a couple semesters, or for life from this particular college. And that type of stuff usually stays with you as it relates to your transcript. So you could try to go other places, private, public, in-state, out of country, online. They're still going to need your social security number and your transcripts. And usually there's a little asterisk when it comes to, the reason why You got booted out of the college, or you got a zero in a particular class, or whatever the case may be. And the problem is, really, once you get sort of caught up in the AI and the plagiarism stuff and the cheating, they start looking at your other classes to see if you're using those same techniques and methods to get good grades in there. So you don't want the microscope put on you within these last 7 days, and that's really all we have. We got 1 week, um, and final grades are going to be due for everybody for all classes, I believe, by next Thursday, probably next Wednesday, really, by the close of business, which will be about 6 o'clock, which is the reason why I need these papers in tonight. Again, once the clock hits midnight, the Dropbox disappears. When it disappears, guess what? You can no longer submit. I'm not taking late work. You've known this for a number of weeks now. Um, the due date for this particular paper has been in your course syllabus with the checklist for weeks now. I've talked about it in lectures. I talked about it in announcements. I talked about it in emails over the last 7 weeks. So this stuff, I couldn't get it to work, or I couldn't upload it, or that's not my problem. Um, your computer problems, your internet problems, your Blackboard problems, your problems, those are personal issues, right? If you're having issues with your computer, you've known you probably had issues with your computer for a while now, then you either need to get to the closest Coastal Pines Technical College near you before 6 o'clock tonight to make sure that your paper is uploaded as a Microsoft Word document, not a PDF, not some funky other document that I can't download or read. If I can't download it or read it, or if it can't go through Safe Assign, then I'm just going to give it a zero and move on, because I got nearly 80 students to read between now and next Wednesday. Same thing with excuses. Don't have time for them. Not going to hunt you down. If the paper is not in there by midnight, Dropbox shuts down. Tomorrow morning, if there's nothing there, I'm just giving it a zero, and I'm not even entertaining the excuses. You just know that you're going to have a zero. If you think that you have a 59 or lower, meaning you're basically failing the class now, and there's really no way that you're going to pass, especially if I have several folks that have, single digit numbers, between 0 and 10, or 11 and 30, or whatever that case may be. I mean, if you're really, anything between 0 and 59, probably at this point, and you're not turning in work and haven't turned in work since midterm or before midterm, you probably need to go through the register to see about withdrawing the class. You have a little bit of time, but not much. If you take the final exam, you can't withdraw the class. You need to basically withdraw probably before this Thursday, which is technically the last day of the semester before final exams. So you have until 6 o'clock this Thursday to withdraw if you know that you're not going to pass. You're going to have to go through the college register. You're going to have to start the process on your end. There's a file that you have to fill out called Laserfish. You fill out that information. Once you fill that information, it gets sent to me. Until you do that, I can't drop you. You have to drop yourself or withdraw yourself. If you're dual enrollment, then you're going to have to talk to your high school coordinator to see if you can. You may not be able to withdraw this late in the game, so you may just have to eat that 35 and retake this class in the spring. You got to be careful too if you withdraw from one class. If it's a prerequisite for another, it may screw you up where they sort of withdraw you from all your classes. So now you're going to have to take all of those classes, especially if you're taking 4 or 5. Guess what? Back over again in the spring or the summer. So that's why, keeping up with deadlines, turning stuff in, not collecting 3 or more zeros throughout a 16 or 15-week semester is, beneficial to you, right? Every zero is going to hurt. And it usually hurts by at least 20 points, which is 2 letter grades, if not more, depending on where your grade is at this point. So if you looked at your grades, whatever it shows as your weighted total, that is your current semester grade heading into our last 2 assignments. research paper that's due again tonight, not tomorrow, not Sunday, not Friday, tonight by 11:59. I can't stress that enough because, again, I've been talking about this for the last 8 weeks. I'm not going to entertain the excuses. I'm not going to entertain that you couldn't get it. And don't email me your work. It has to go through the Dropbox. So, again, you got to figure that out. If you can't get it on your computer, you might need to go and get a different computer, especially if you're borrowing a laptop from a high school. If your high school laptop's been messing up on you, and it's been messing up on you for the last 9 weeks, then you probably should have got a new high school laptop from that particular media center when it started having problems 9 weeks ago. Because I know I have a few students that are saying my computer, my high school laptop, this or that. Well, that's not my problem. Um, my deal is I'm in grade mode, final exam and research paper grade mode. Like I said, I have nearly 80 students I got to grade. It's just easier, I mean, if you're not following instructions and doing stuff that, that's been up for the last 7 or 8 weeks, it's just easier for me to put a 0 and move on to the people that are doing it correctly and who have worked hard and not, giving me 1,000 excuses of why this or that or whatever didn't work. There's a couple things again that I'm going to talk about. One is safe assign. So once you turn your paper in, and again, this person here, the format of this paper is really messed up. I mean, everything needs to be, research paper. That's not really a good title. That's too generic. It's bland. It really needs to have a creative, catchy title that fits to the work to come. This part of it looks pretty good. I mean, you have a header. The person has a last name and a first name, or a last name and a page number, which is good. But if you look, the paragraphs are left aligned and need to be indented. This person is not really following MLA 9 format as it relates to in-text citation. We don't use dates. We use page numbers. Especially if you're using books, whether they're ebooks or journal articles, e-journal articles, they're going to be page numbers, either top right-hand corner like yours needs to be, or the bottom corner somewhere. The only thing that wouldn't have page numbers would be websites. And I have posted videos about how to go about citing that stuff. This person also has the last name and number 1 going throughout the whole thing. Well, this is not page 1. This is it says page 3. So, and a lot of tall tale signs of possible AI usage are these subtitles with the bold. It looks like this paper could be possibly AI. I'm going to run it through a checker. If it is AI, then I'm just going to go over here and put a 0. That easy, that quick, that fast, and I'm moving on. I'm not going to listen to the excuses. Because don't have time. Right? So as it relates to plagiarism, it's only showing 5%. So this is the other thing I was going to talk about. Once you submit your paper, and that's why it's good to go ahead and submit it earlier, before midnight, hours before if possible, because you're going to get a safe assign number. And this number is not your grade. This number is basically telling the percentage of possible plagiarism in your paper. Anything between 0 and 10 is generally good. Anything from 11 to 100, we have to look at a little bit closely, especially if this number is closer to 100. That means it's bad for you. Generally, in the past that I've been, using, or that college has been using Safe Assign, right? The last 15, 20 years that I've been, a instructor, it's been my estimation and stuff with this. Anything above 50% is usually plagiarized. And what I usually try to do is come in, because I know if it's going to be a research paper, certain things are going to be flagged, right? Quotations, sources. I expect that stuff to be flagged. It's when I see big chunks of stuff that you didn't cite correctly, whether you did it unintentionally or intentionally. The policy doesn't really, relax on that part. You've heard of plagiarism, you heard of cheating before, way before this class. If you had an English class, which most of us have, 9th through 12th grade, they should have talked about plagiarism. Definitely cheating. That's been around, since elementary school. So what I want to do, if it's 5%, I probably won't do much, but I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm going to do with these. I'm going to go in here and look. First thing I look at is this number. If it's really high, like I said, 50, 60, 70, 80, it's going to tell me various things, right? It's going to give me sources here. It's going to give me internet sources used. And what I'm going to do is go through this paper because this is Megan's paper. I'm going to look here. And if you look, it does flag certain things. It says that there's a high 75% match. This could be a common phrasing, right? But it's saying it's coming from Grade Fixer. Guess what? It's going to open that source for me when I hit here. And this is that source. And I can go through it and everything and look and see what's going on here. But it looks like this is just sort of maybe a common phrase or a title. So what I want to do is I can go over here and hit dismiss or dismiss the match, and it brings that number down. So if you have a high number, you want me to be able to go back in there and bring this number down between 0 and 10. If you have 75% and I can only bring it down to 45%, you plagiarize that paper because there's a lot of stuff that's still highlighted that I can't bring down. So I'm going to scroll down. And of course, like I said, it should highlight sources, which it does. And again, I should be able to click on these and go ahead and dismiss them. And that should bring your number down. So this particular person right now is at 0 as it relates to the plagiarism. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the report. Sometimes on your end, because of this new safest line, it won't keep the number at 0, but I know because I physically went in there and got the number to come down, because sometimes if you refresh and come back, it's going to show 2%. So I'd have to keep going back, but I know I got it down. So I'm not going to waste the time so much. As it relates to, and I'm going to check this paper too, just because it looks kind of wonky when it comes to some of these citations and stuff. And that's the thing about AI programs. They don't necessarily, they're good with certain things, giving you knowledge on certain things, but they're not 100% accurate. They're not going to write a decent research paper. I know sort of the tricks of the trade, that some of their phrasing, some of the language that they use, the style that they use, they very rarely give you reputable and realistic sources. Meaning, if I start looking for sources, and that's the other thing, I come to SafeAssign, I'll go through that. I start checking with the various AI detectors, and then I go to your sources. And if I can't find your 6 to 8 sources for 1010 or 1101 papers, with my 1102 class, your papers need to be a little bit longer because you're dealing with a drama, 2 dramas and those 2 films. Your paper needs to be 7 to 10 pages in length, plus the works cited page. You need to use those 2 primary sources, which are the 2 plays that we've covered throughout the month of November, and 8 scholarly sources. So I usually say 3 scholarly books, 3 scholarly journal articles that you can get from the college library. If you're a dual enrollment student, maybe your high school library or a public library, and then 2 scholarly websites. Wikipedia is not a scholarly website. Cliff Notes, Spark Notes, Lit Charts, whatever these various summary sites, they're not scholarly in nature. So if you're using Spark Notes or Cliff Notes or any of these, places where they basically summarize the work and give you a couple quotations and sort of pass off thinking grade saver, as sources, you're going to be docked off for not using the correct scholarly source. So I'm hoping nobody, I hate when I see papers, littered with lit charts and Grade Saver and Cliff Notes, because I know you didn't really read the work. You didn't cite properly, those particular sites. They're giving you a particular opinion, which may or may not be correct. Um, so just be wary, especially for my 1102 class. So this is a particular paper from 1102 currently. So Miss Tracy, if you are watching this, which I hope you are, you're going to have to go back through, because if you looked, I basically took your rough draft that you sent me, even though I gave you some feedback. I pasted that in here, and look what it did. It's going to check, several, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the key AI sites that are out there, free or subscriptive wise. And what I did was I copied and pasted your entire paper as it was into this particular box, and I hit check for AI. And guess what it did? It flagged it. Your content is likely AI. Now, I'll probably go through and maybe try a couple other detectors, but this right here is checking 8 various ones. So at this late in the game, because you really don't have a lot of time, it's what, 9:20 right now in the morning. This thing is due 11:59, and this thing is flagging it as at least, AI. So right now, if you turn that in as your final draft, that would have been an automatic 0. And for your particular class, your paper is worth, you know, I don't know, 20%, maybe 30% of your grade at this point. You definitely don't want to have a 0. I can tell you that, because, I mean, depending on where your grade is at, this will probably bring you down to the D, if not the F range right now, if you don't fix this particular paper. Um, so let's try another paper just to show you how this thing works and what I'm going to do. This paper also didn't have sources, so that's also sort of a red flag. You didn't have a works cited page. And I think I brought that up when I was looking at it yesterday. So this is the other paper. This is Megan's paper. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. And I don't need a whole lot, but I'm going to see if it's going to take all of it. The sources here are all kind of, the works cited page is messed up too. So y'all need to go back and look at some of these videos. I can kind of tell you I didn't look at some of these lecture videos or videos about works citing. I mean, if you use the works cited generators for your annotated bibs, those that are in my 1010 or 1101 class, then you have the citations and the sources that you were planning to use already there. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna copy and paste. It looked like it did all of the work. Um, well, most of it. Let's see. See what's lacking. Yeah. Let's go ahead and do all of it. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do about sources here in a minute too. So get rid of all this crap. Paste, got all the sources. It tells me the word count. Still not keeping everything. But let's see. Let's check. Checking for AI. It's going to go through the process. Hopefully it's going to be green. You want to have green check marks all across the board. That's going to be, letting me know that, hey, you probably didn't use AI. I may check it against, sometimes it does this too. And you can find this program. Um, Sometimes these things will say, well, you want to humanize it. You want to get it to look like more of a human. And those don't always work 100% either. They could still be flagged for AI. So I wouldn't even try to entertain that part, honestly, because again, I can use other ones. And this is just taking forever right now because there's probably a lot of folks using it. We may just change over. Okay, here we go. Yep, this looks good. There's one here. It says OpenAI, which is basically Chat GPT. You might want to go back to see what's going on because it's not going to necessarily flag what section, but this is fairly accurate. Most of them are green, but again, I would go back and look. You know if you used it or not, and it's going to flag that. So you want really the likelihood of AI detection to be all of these to be in green, without a shadow of a doubt. Again, you can use other free ones, and I probably will check this again. Right now, this looks like it's a pretty good sign that it is that most, 7 out of the 8, I think, is showing human. Which, if we did a percentage of that, that's about 88%. So that's fairly good. Um, Usually, I think Turnitin will allow up to about 20% possibly of AI. I mean, that's still pretty kind of high because when you think of 0 to 10 for plagiarism, 0 to 20, I mean, I guess because it flags certain common words still. Again, I would try to get to where all of these are green checks and you don't even have this one little yellow thing, triangle, as a, sort of shadowing over you. Because if I check on another site and it flags it, then I have to go to another because usually I use three. I use this one. I use two other ones. If 2 out of the 3 show that, hey, it's AI, then I just assume it's AI and I put a 0 and move on. I may use a third one just to be triple sure. If it says two, 2 or more that are human, then I usually just allow it as being human. And hopefully you didn't plagiarize with the safe assign stuff. Now, what I'm going to do with the sources, because again, I can look at these right now. This is not really a proper works cited page. One, the works cited page needs to be on your last page. That's not needs to be on a separate page. So again, if you end on page 7, your works cited page needs to be the full page 8. You don't need to number your sources like this person did here, and the numbering is all out of whack. You need to double space everything. Again, that's using MLA9 format. So this person's not really following instructions when it comes to formatting. We're not in MLA9. This is still APA, just because of the way the dates and everything are used. But what I want to do to also see if you're using legit sources is I'm going to copy and paste some of this stuff. And that's the thing about AI. They will throw out bogus sources just to show you how it possibly will look. And I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to copy and paste. And if I can't find your source, that's another red flag that you probably used AI or you copying and pasting or something. So it looks like this possibly is a source. There's one source here with that particular name, it looks. But again, it looks kind of funky. Going back, looking at title. Yeah, that's it. But probably what this person did was went over here and hit cite and copied that. And you really need to do MLA and copy this. So that person didn't, they just looked at the first one and probably was at a rush. That's the other thing. I can tell if these things are kind of written hastily. You're just throwing stuff together. You're not really analyzing. You didn't really read the sources correctly, whatever the case may be, because you can't quote them. You can't make it fit smoothly into your paper. So yes, that's usually the 3 things I check. I check safe assign because it's already there. And you can see this too on your end. That's why I say I wouldn't wait until 11:55 to turn something in that's going to have 89% plagiarism, because I can guarantee you I can probably not bring that down between 0 and 10. So I'm going to check safe assign. I'm going to check your sources, and then I'm going to use these AI detectors. And that's for my research paper for 1010, 1101, 1102, all my classes. So that's where I'm going to start. And if there's anything that looks funky, that doesn't look right, if you plagiarized, you copy and paste, you bought a paper, you used AI, I'm just going to give it a 0, move on. The other thing is, the Dropbox closes and there's nothing there, 0, move on. If I can't download your paper, meaning if I can't, run it, if it can't run through Safe Assign, don't email me your paper. Don't PDF the paper. Don't give me some other funky format. If it can't go through Safe Assign or I can't download it or read it, 0, moving on. Not listening to the excuses because y'all have had 8 weeks to fix whatever issues that are going on with your Blackboard, with your account, with your email, whatever the deal may be. Now, the other thing I was going to show you for 1101, and then I'll kick over real quick for 1102, because this is probably going to be the last video. Because again, like I said, I already have a few research papers coming in. The drop boxes for the research papers are for the final draft only, meaning the one that you want me to grade. I'm not going to entertain any more drafts. The deadline for rough drafts was by midnight this past Sunday. Some of y'all took advantage of that and you submitted stuff. I think I got maybe one more to look at, and I'm going to send that off to that particular person. After that, use tutor.com. Again, if you go up here to online tutoring, you click on it, you follow the instructions. It's free. You can upload your paper. Again, they're probably going to want it as a Microsoft Word file so they can, give you feedback and comments and stuff. I would probably do that soon. I wouldn't wait, to 4 o'clock to send tutor.com your paper, especially, if you got 6 to 8 pages for 1010 or 1101 or 7 to 10 pages for 1102, and expecting that you're going to get it back possible. Sometimes it may take, depending on how much is going on, because they don't just cater to this college, they cater, to a lot of colleges. And really at this point, last 7 days of the semester, we're getting into the research papers and final exams at other places. So they may be overwhelmed and bogged down. So if you, submit something at 4 o'clock this afternoon thinking you're going to get it back in about 3 hours, it may be, 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, or 48 hours from when you send it in which, in that case, the Dropbox is already closed, and I'm not going to reopen it. So I would go ahead, if you have a draft and you want somebody to look at it because you ran out of time and didn't send me one, let tutor.com look at it. If you go to, and again, it will give you step-by-step instructions of what you need to do. You can submit it multiple times if they get it back to you quickly. You just want to have enough time that you can revise and digest what they tell you to revise and digest. So if you submit it at 4, let's say hypothetically 4 o'clock today, and you get it back at 10 o'clock tonight, well, you got less than 2 hours, especially let's say your paper is 9 pages, to fix everything that needs to be fixed. And again, once that clock hits midnight, Dropbox closes. If you scroll all the way down, right, you see 2 timers. Again, this is how much time you got left for that final draft research paper. It's basically tonight. Well, tomorrow. My fault. I'm rushing ahead here. It's December 4th for everybody, which is Wednesday. It's tomorrow. So you have a day. So again, I would probably still try to submit to tutor.com, before this time tomorrow. That way, if you need to fix something, you can take a good bit of tomorrow to fix it. You do have 7 days. You have up to December 10th, by 6 o'clock. Again, once the clock hits 6:01 p.m. on December 10th, which is next Tuesday, if you don't have your final exam, whether it's your essay or actual final exam, the drama exam for 1102, and we'll talk a little bit about that here momentarily. If that's not completed or in the Dropbox, then again, it's going to be graded as a 0, and I'm moving on, because grades for the college are going to be due by 6 o'clock the very next day, and I don't have time for the excuses. Again, if you know that you have wonky internet and your computer's not working, get to the closest Coastal Pines Technical College. Use the library. We have Microsoft Word on our computers. If you're out of high school, use the media center. I'm sure you got computers there that have internet. Get to a place where, family or friend that has a working computer and working internet. You have options. Um, we don't have any big storms or hurricanes and stuff going on now. So you can't, use a lot of those excuses that some of y'all are using. Some were legit, right? A lot of us did lose power for a couple of weeks, but there were some that lived around my same area in Brunswick that I've known we didn't lose power, but for a couple days that are still saying, "Oh, I'm out of power." Or you just live two blocks down the road. How are you out of power? Because I see the street lights and everything still coming on. So be careful of that. Okay, so SA6. Again, I kind of tell you, you need to have it in by 6 o'clock. Once this opens, I mean, you have the topics here. Here's the file, download it. You can use Microsoft Word to type up the essay, to save the essay, um, and submit. We're not going to have a rough draft section on this. I mean, if you want to send me a draft of your essay 6 for my 10, 10, or 1101, you can. Again, because I'm really focusing on the research paper, I may or may not be able to get to it. This particular paper, I think, only needs to be about 2 to 3 pages. It's a reflective essay dealing with my 10, 10, 1101 group. Basically, there's a couple things that you want to address, but overall, it basically wants to um, it wants you to reflect on what you've learned as a student, as a writer from week one all the way up to now. So we are hoping that you have improved as a writer, that your research skills have improved, that you can think and write and read analytically and critically. Um, I wouldn't necessarily just focus on the grade, right? I mean, yes, everybody wants to have the A's and the B's, and of course, everybody wants to pass. But go beyond that. Look to see, have you improved as a writer? Now, you could have improved as a writer and still have a C in the course. The problem is maybe your time management skills are just off. Maybe you missed a couple assignments and that's what brought your grade down, but you still sort of improved as a writer. Um, so don't just look at it, okay, I got a 92, so I must have really improved as a writer. Yes, that probably does help, but for some folks, you can. It's sort of like the IQ test. A lot of times, when folks take an IQ test, sometimes they don't necessarily do so well in the paper and pencil version of it, but their IQ is really high in emotional intelligence, or their IQ is really high in creativity. So there's different boxes for IQ and stuff. So it doesn't make you any less intelligent. It's just maybe the pen and the paper version of the IQ test is just not for you. Sort of like the SAT and the ACT. Standardized testing. A lot of folks don't do so well on that. But if given 2 or 3 weeks, study the material on a particular, let's say chapter 4 in a biology class, they can do that really well. So just think of that 2 to 3 pages, nothing really big. You don't have to do any research because, again, it's about you. It's your reflection from week 1 to week 15. The Dropbox will open for 10, 10, 1101 group after midnight on December 5th, which is this Thursday. So you don't necessarily have to wait until Monday and Tuesday, because basically that's when the 2 days for final exams for the college are Monday the 9th and Tuesday the 10th. I know originally I said I was going to have everything sort of wrapped up on Sunday the 8th, but the vice president of the college basically says we need to have final exams on the final exam period. So that would be Monday and Tuesday. So I'm leaving it open Monday, but by 6 o'clock Tuesday, it needs to be in. Because these need to be really open for a 36-hour period. I'm going to have mine open after midnight on the 5th. So my 36-hour period is going to be really I mean, it's going to be over that since I'm giving you the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th. So I'm basically giving you up to 5 days to get this sort of typed up and saved and uploaded. Now for my 1102 class, I'm going to click out here, go to 1102. Again, same deal. Your research papers over the dramas, 7 to 10 pages. We're excited. You need to have 8 scholarly sources plus the 2 primary sources. So you're looking at least 10 sources in all. When it comes to quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing for all 3 classes, you need to, let's say that for 1101 you got 6 sources. I need to see at least 2 quotations or paraphrasing or summarizing per source. So what does that mean? Well, if you got 6 sources, do the math. 6 times 2 is 12. So I need to see 12 in-text citations throughout your 6 to 8 pages. And they have to come from those 6 sources, meaning you can't just pick one source and give me 12 citations. I mean, that was the whole purpose for y'all doing the annotated bib for my 1010 1101 group, was for you to see different sources and to use those. Now for my 1102, again, that's probably going to be, similar, even though you're probably going to rely heavily on the 2 dramas, Trifles and a Dollhouse, whether it's the text version or the film version or a combination. Remember, I threw out the film versions, I believe, week 12, week 13, that you'd have a chance to sort of, as you read the play, you could watch the actual drama, um, which I think they sort of follow closely together. Sometimes you got to be careful just watching the video or the film is not going to take really precedent over reading the play or the novel or the poem. Remember, there are 2 dramas, there are 2 plays, they're not poems. Some of y'all, when I'm looking at your drafts in 1102, you're referring to them as poems. We did poetry back in October, where November was dramas, was plays. There's no poetry in the month of November that we're dealing with. So that's the other thing too, that kind of, with Tracy's essay, I think she was calling them poems, and that's sort of a telltale sign of, hey, this person probably used AI because AI got it wrong and couldn't figure that they were dramas and not poems. So little things like that sort of just throw up red flags for us as an instructors. Okay, so 1102. Again, you have the online tutoring, tutor.com. Click on that, upload your paper. Again, your paper is due by 11:59 tomorrow, the 4th, which is Wednesday. Again, if you go to lessons, if you scroll down, we're right here in the drama unit. Click on that. Um, Again, you see the timer. The final exam here will open after midnight on Thursday, the 5th as well. You click on it. It's going to take you here. Here's the test. You click on that. Again, it's going to open after midnight on the 5th. So again, you have 5 days to take this exam, and you have until Tuesday the 10th by 6 o'clock. For 1102, you're going to need a password. Told you that in the email and announcements a couple weeks ago. If you read this, there's your password. Don't email me and say, "Oh, what's the password? I can't find it." Well, if you read it, it's going to be there. Once this opens, you read this section, your password is right there. Cranberry 25 exclamation point. Then you click on it. Pay attention to the instructions. It's over the 2 dramas, both the text version and the film version. It's going to be 10 true false questions. I can tell you now it's equally. There's going to be equally 5 that are true and 5 that are false. Okay? If they're true, just put T or true and move on. Don't have to do anything with that. If they're false, you can put F and move on, but you're only going to get 5 points. You're only going to get half credit on the false. To get the full 10 points, you have to make that false statement into a true statement. Um, so either you can make that false statement like I show you here. This was a false. So if you just put false and F or false, spell out false and move on, you're only going to get 5 points. Now, if you put F false and then make the statement true, then you're going to get the other 5 points. And that will be your 10 points because there's only 10 of them. They're 10 points apiece. So if you don't do the other half for the false, and let's say that you get, you get the true ones right. So that's what, 5 times 10? That's 50. So that's 50% of your grade. But if you only do half credit for the other 5 times 5 because you didn't do the other portion, the highest you could possibly make on the exam would be a 75, which is a C. It's passing. But again, this final exam is a big chunk of your grade. It can determine whether you pass or fail the course depending on where your grade is at now. So if you want full credit on the false, again, you have to make that false statement into a true statement. That's going to tell me, hey, did this person actually read the plays? Did they watch the videos? Did they study? Because I did give a study guide a couple of weeks ago. Go back and look at one of those modulars. There's a study guide there that sort of is really closely related to the style of the test. If you study that study guide and you can get all those right, chances are you're probably going to do really well on the exam. If you don't look at that study guide or you didn't read or watch any of the plays, then this true false exam is probably going to be disastrous for you. And it could be the difference of passing the class with a 70 or higher or failing the class with a 69 or lower. So make sure. And once you hit begin, it's going to ask for that password. So it's not going to let you go or proceed if you don't have this password. And again, once this opens, it's right there. So don't email me and ask, well, what's the password? I can't find it. It's right there. It's right in front of your face. The other thing, let's see, the Dropbox for the research paper should be in modular 15, which is this week. Again, there's some information about quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing using MLA. If you haven't watched that or if you need a review, again, it's kind of lengthy. It's about 30 minutes, but if you need to know how to do it, it's right there. I also give you a sample research paper for drama. This particular one is 9 pages with the works cited page. I think comes up to be about 11 or 12. This will sort of show you what a model drama research paper looks like. In my 1010 1101 class, I think in modular 15, I give you a sample A paper to look at, the sort of for you to follow for your 6 to 8 pages. Here's the Dropbox. Again, I will not accept late papers, so you either get it in by the Dropbox deadline of 11:59, or you just take the 0 and hopefully do well on the final. Upload your file. Again, you need to upload it as a Microsoft Word attachment. Don't upload it as a PDF. Don't upload it as some other funky thing. Don't copy and paste it into the text box. Don't email me a draft saying you can't get Dropbox to work. It has to go through the Dropbox. It has to be able to, Safe Assign has to read it to check for the plagiarism. So if you're sending me an email, I can't get my Dropbox and my Blackboard to work at 11:50, I'm just going to delete it because I have to have it go through the Safe Assign. And since everybody knows that from my 1010 to my 1101, 1102 courses, now you know. So make sure that you submit stuff in on time. Research papers due tomorrow, 11:59 again. Final exam, whether it's the reflection essay for 1010, 1101 or the actual drama exam for 1102. You're going to have 5 days after it opens up, after midnight on the 5th, by 6 o'clock on Tuesday next, to get that last assignment in, because that's the only thing. We only have 2 assignments: research paper, final exam. If you did the extra credit, the opportunity to do that has, I've left that open since about midterm until Thanksgiving. You've had nearly 6 or 7 weeks. A good bit of y'all have already done that. I've already applied extra credit to your grade. So there's no more extra credit opportunities. You can't do any more extra credit just because of time and what I have to be doing here, grading research papers and final exams coming up. Um, so I thank you for those that did the extra credit. Hopefully you've seen the results in your grade. Um, but you did have nearly 6, 7 weeks to get that in. Information about that was in your announcement page. I did email several times um, from the middle of October to about the middle of November, trying to remind students of extra credit. I did, uh, for all the classes, I dropped your lowest weekly grade. That wasn't a major essay or a major test or anything. So all of that has been done. So again, whatever you look at and see as your weighted total today, that is your semester grade heading into the research paper and the final exam. So these last two assignments, depending on where your grade is at, can really determine whether you pass the course with a C or higher, or you fail the course with a D or lower and have to repeat at some point, whether it's with this college or another college in the future, because you need, a lot of 1010, 1101, you kind of need to get to certain areas of your program of study. 1102, you probably need that depending on what you're getting, majoring in. It's sort of like college algebra and that type deal. They're prerequisites. You kind of need those classes to sort of move along in your program of study, whether you take it with us or whether you go to University of Kentucky or Berkeley in California. They still have to take English 1101, 1102, college algebra. So those classes are really sort of the foundation for the rest of your academic college experience. All right, so I hope everybody had a great, wonderful, restful as much as you could Thanksgiving. I know, if you didn't start the research paper until Thanksgiving, then I'm sure it was sort of a havoc and hectic and chaotic week, possibly. Um, just know we got 7 days, and in 7 days, it's all over until next semester, which again, what I would suggest if you haven't got in touch with your advisor about next semester, if you're planning on going here to college, you can see what we offer. If you go to the main homepage and go to faculty and staff, and then come down and look at schedule classes, you might want to drop down this arrow. They're already starting to think about summer and fall. I don't think anything is there yet, but it will be probably starting in the spring. Notice we start spring semester the 13th of January. So you have about a month off once we get out next week. But if you click there, and then you can either drop down to particular campuses, but if you hit show courses, you can look at all instructors, you can look at a particular instructor, you hit submit. I'm going to look at everybody. This shows all the classes that we offer. Now, some of these are going to be dual enrollment in high school. Some of them are going to be, hybrid classes, online courses, in person. That could be Golden Isles, it could be Baxley, it could be Hazelhurst, could be Alma, could be Camden, could be Waycross, Jessup. So you can scroll down, and for the most part, I think these are basically set in stone. What possibly could happen is if they don't have a lot of students enrolled in the course, they could drop that course between now and the 13th of January. If they have too many people in the course and there's a waiting list, you may have to wait and hope somebody may drop. So what I'm getting at is if you haven't talked to your advisor and you plan on going in the spring semester, you probably want to talk to them um, really before December 12th to go ahead and get signed up, because after that, we have what is called a leave option day for work. Um, so the week of the 16th, your advisor, if they have enough time, leave. They may be gone until after New Year's. So they may not come back until maybe January 2nd. Well, by then you only have less than 2 weeks to get everything signed up. And plus, if you wait too late, you risk the chance of that course being dropped. You risk the chance of being put on a waiting list that you're never going to be able to get in the course because nobody's going to drop yet. Or you may have to pay additional fees because you waited almost until the very end to sign up. Um, I think the college is going to be open until about the 24th, which is Christmas Eve. But I think from then, from like the 25th through the 1st, I know everything is going to be closed down then. Nobody's going to be at any campus. So again, if you are planning on going, if you have sort of in mind what you want to take, I would go ahead and probably talk to your advisor. If not this week, definitely by the 11th next week, because the 12th, everybody's going to be at a big staff development in Jessup. It's going to be an all-day event. So if anybody is going to be back and not taking leave, it will be that Monday, the 16th. But again, I can't guarantee who's going to leave and who's not for the holidays. All right. I meant for this thing to be not necessarily an hour, but this is probably going to be the last one anyway. So again, I want to take the time to say I thank everybody for working hard, for participating, for those that did participate, in some of the tutoring sessions, emailing questions, emailing me drafts, um, calling on the, office phone, whatever the case may be. And I do wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope everybody finishes with everything that they're doing academic wise on the strong note. Everybody passes. So you're not having to come back and necessarily retake this class either with me or with somebody else. It's best to pass and move on, right? That gets you closer to graduating on time, and it doesn't bog you down. Um, the other thing is, I always tell my students this: if there's anything that I can help you with in the future, um, please reach out, email me. My email is going to be the same. I got, nearly 5 classes again next semester. Um, so if you need a reference to a particular job or whatever, just email me, give me enough time, don't say, hey, can you write me a recommendation letter? It needs to be due in 3 hours. I mean, at least give me a couple of days so I can get something ready for you. The same thing goes with, looking at rough drafts. Let's say that you're taking a psychology class or something in the future, and you got to write another 8-page research paper. Just, I don't mind looking at drafts. Again, give me time to look at it. Don't send me something and it's due within, 12 hours, because I got my own classes and stuff going on. But give me the instructions, kind of let me know what's going on with it. Just don't say, hey, here, can you read this for me? Give me a little bit more context and context and content background on it, so I can give you some really good, productive, and constructive feedback on that. All right. So until we either meet again, if you plan on taking another English class with me, maybe in the spring, 1102 or something, 1105, technical writing, business communications in the summer. Occasionally, I do teach American Lit, which is 2130. Um, I hope, I mean, if the next time I do see you, you are taking another, the next class up, that you're not having to really take the same class over. But I do understand things do sort of happen. I mean, sometimes you learn within the semester that you're not really an online learner. You really need to be in an in-person class, and that's fine. We do offer in-person classes. I did offer an in-person hybrid class of 1010 or 1101 this semester. Hopefully, your advisors are telling you that some of these classes are offered as hybrid or in person. They're not necessarily everything is online. Um, so come by, come see the Camden campus. It's a really nice campus. It's the newest campus. Golden Isles is probably the second newest campus. Uh, Waycross is probably the old. Jessup and Waycross are probably one of the two oldest campuses. Waycross is our parent campus, but um, I think Jessup is really probably one of the oldest ones. But we service at least 13 counties, including the dual enrollment in high school and that type of stuff. So we are spread out, and we cover a lot of southeast eastern counties here. All right, so I'm not going to hold you up anymore. Like I said, this is probably going to be my last video. Again, have a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. I hope your Thanksgiving last week went great. I hope the rest of your semester ends on a high note, not a low note. I know Christmas is right around the corner. We probably got to get ready for getting shopping done, or maybe finishing up shopping. If you're smarter, maybe you started shopping throughout the year or earlier in the year. If you're like me and you got two daughters that want everything in the world, you are trying to find time to go shopping, and sometimes it makes it kind of hard when you're working 4 days a week, 10-hour days. But you just got to do what you got to do. That, and shop for the wife and all that good stuff. Prepare, get ready for meals. But yes, I will end it there. And again, don't be a stranger. Email me if you think you might need something in the future. If I don't know the answer to something, I'm not gonna, BS you and say I do. If I don't know it, I'm only human. I make mistakes just like everybody else. We put shoes on, the same way, and pants on the same way. So if I don't know something, we can work together to find the answer, or I can, just straight out tell you, say, hey, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and waste our time thinking I do know stuff if I don't know. But we can always work together to see. I believe two minds are better than one when it comes to trying to resolve or find solutions to problems. But anyway, I will let you go because I know you have, the research paper to do tomorrow. Again, hint, hint, by 11:59, if not sooner. And then you have, by 6 p.m. next Tuesday to get that last final exam, whether it's the essay for 10-10-11-01, or the drama exam. Now, my hybrid classes are doing a little bit different because they get to meet in person Wednesday and Thursday. So they're going to do an 8 to 10 minute presentation on their research paper as their final exam. So those are always pretty neat to listen to as well. All right, so I'm going to end it here, and I will talk to you when I talk to you. Again, have a good rest of your week next week, and happy holidays.